So to start our meeting, we're going to start with our student council. It's going to be Cole Hardy and Nicole Crisanda. Just Cole today.
Just me today. Hi, guys. Good evening, everyone. After returning from break, Student Council is planning to hold a meeting with all members tomorrow after school to discuss and further plan for the end of the year. We'll be focusing on and coordinating our end of year awards ceremony, as well as finding volunteers to help run the event. We're excited to have finalized plans for Student Council's end of year field trip, where we'll reward our most active members with a fun day at the American Dream Mall. Additionally, we're in the process of identifying eligible candidates for upcoming elections for both class councils and student council leadership roles. We've also begun finalizing our initial plans for the end of year pep rally and brainstorming more ideas at our weekly meetings. We hope to begin purchasing materials needed for the games and activities very soon. We'll also be reaching out to potential participants to let them know about the opportunity to get involved. We're so excited to host an event like this at Columbia, especially during such a busy time of year. We truly believe it will help boost morale and provide a fun and relaxing break for students as they prepare for their finals. Overall, we're excited for everything we have going on in Student Council right now, and we hope you all have a wonderful night. Thank you.
I just want to make a quick comment about Student Council. I always enjoy hearing from Student Council, particularly, being involved in education. Like part of the administration to education, we hear so much from adults, right?
Yeah.
It's so wonderful to have a student perspective, right, on what's going on. And, I just really want to just say I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I agree. It's very interesting to see what you guys do and how it kind of do in Student Council, the similarities. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And you'll get even more of that soon, right? With
Yes.
the addition of a.
Yes,
Yeah,
the next
of
student
course.
officio, absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
No, that'd be great to hear. Okay, and moving on to volunteer recognition.
So at this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. McHugh, the Golf Middle School principal. He is our host for this event. From the board and the district administration's perspective, this is one of our favorite meetings of the year because we get an opportunity to formally thank you for all of the hard work, dedication you give to our students and our school buildings as volunteers. The people that we're going to be recognizing tonight, recognized by each of our respective administrators, principals, and our athletic director, really appreciate all that you do on a day-to-day basis to add and enhance our educational program. We couldn't do what we do to meet our mission without you, and we're very grateful for all that you do, the hours of service that you provide to us. Mr. McHugh.
Thank you, Mr. Simons. I made a note about the flag, so we'll fix that tomorrow. But, good evening and welcome to the East Greenbush Central School District's annual Volunteer Recognition Program. Tonight, we gather with deep gratitude and sincere appreciation to celebrate an essential part of our school community, you, our volunteers. Your time, energy, and unwavering commitment make a lasting difference in the lives of our students, families, and staff, whether in classrooms, on field trips, behind the scenes, or at special events. Your contributions bring our mission to life in countless meaningful ways. You're the perfect example of what a school community can achieve when we work together with a shared purpose to support and uplift every child. Your generosity helps create a nurturing, vibrant, and successful environment for all of our students, and we're better because of you. On behalf of the East Greenbush Central School District, thank you for being such valued partners in education. Tonight is about you, your dedication, your kindness, and the impact you make every day. We are truly grateful. At this time, I would like to call up our GOF volunteers that we are recognizing: Cindy Zerbies, Justin Secor Rubenstein, and Jeff Hicks, if you can come up. Cindy Zerbies, she's not here this evening, but I just want to speak on her behalf. She plays a crucial role in organizing the Backpack Program Closet, regularly picking up food from the Latham Food Bank, and meticulously packing bags every week. Her dedication is exemplary. Cindy goes beyond her responsibilities by providing recipes to maximize the use of the pantry items and diligently tracking the distribution of food to each student. Her advocacy ensures a diverse selection of food items, catering to the varying needs of our students. Cindy's commitment and proactive approach significantly enhance the effectiveness of our backpack program. And Justin and Jeff. Both Justin and Jeff are alumni of the East Greenbush Central School District and the Goff Science Olympiad teams. They've been volunteering with the Goff Science Olympiad team since November. They come to practices 1 to 3 times per week to assist our students in the building events. Both men have other jobs, and after working a full day, they come to Goff to help our students in the tech room. They often arrive at 3 p.m. and stay until 8 p.m., working with individual students or groups of students. In addition to using the tools that the tech room provides, they bring their own specialized tools to help the students accomplish their tasks and learn how to use the machinery. Both Jeff and Justin have purchased supplies for students' projects with their own money. They've been very dedicated to the students and their parents. Both Jeff and Justin have developed relationships with the parents of the students they are working with to help with the coordination and schedules. The parents have expressed their gratitude with how much Jeff and Justin have dedicated to their children. They both have arranged their work schedules so that they can support the students, and each has taken at least 1 day off from work to be here at Goff to help our students. Both gentlemen volunteered at the regional competition at Goff and coordinated and ran events at the competition for us. So I would like to acknowledge our 3 volunteers of the year and just say thank you on behalf of East Greenbush Central School District and Goff Middle School. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to call Mr. Newman up from the Belltop Elementary School.
Hi, everyone. I'm here tonight to recognize our PTO president, Anne-Marie Bailey-Yavenditti. She is consistently volunteering her time at Belltop. Sometimes I wonder if we need to put her on salary. She sets up the Day for Doing Good for Regeneron, and if you don't know what that is, the Regeneron company has volunteers come, and they do a lot of great things around our school. So last year, yep, please. Thank you, sorry about that. Last year, they had added new boards to our barn. This year, they put up a fence around our apple trees. They cleared out the front gardens. We went through the back trails to make sure they're open for our students. And I think we added some netting to the roof to keep it so it doesn't get so messy over the summer or winter. So let's see, choose front gardens. Yep. Anne-Marie has set up Regeneron employees to come in and to present. Anne-Marie has set up times for Regeneron employees to come in and present to our 5th grade. That's coming up very soon. And our book fair this year, which had a lot to do with, was one of our record-breaking years this year. So I can't thank you enough for everything that you're doing, and we're glad that we get to keep you next year. All right, so on behalf of East Greenbush School District and Belltop, I thank you a lot. At this time, I'd like to call up Jack Alvey.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. At this time, I'd like to recognize several members of our Odyssey of the Mind team, our coaches. I'm going to ask Diane if you could please stand up. Sadie, please stand up. Aaron, well, Aaron got put over in the other row. No one puts baby in the corner, right? Mr. and Mrs. Laraway, please stand up. And is Jason here? No, Jason Brown. We also want to recognize him as well. These are our coaches. We are very fortunate. We have 4 Odyssey of the Mind teams. We have 2 primary level teams, and we have 2 intermediate teams. And these parents here lead the way every Thursday from October up until this year, state competition, which we were very proud of. Our intermediate teams, they finished in 1st place and headed to Syracuse for the state championships. and did a great job. It's awesome to see the time and effort that they put in, how they let our students, 27 students, we're a small school, that's more than 10% of our population at DPS. So they're working with a large portion of our students, right? Kindergarten, right straight through 5th grade. So it's such an awesome and diverse group. And I get such pleasure when I get to visit them on Thursday after dismissal, and they're in there and they are just crushing snacks that are brought by the coaches, but they are always highly engaged. They are working on their problem-solving skills. They are communicating with one another. But what I enjoy is the camaraderie that they brought to one another. And that's facilitated by these adults here and parents here. And the boys and girls really appreciate all that you've done this year, and for some of you for several years. So on behalf of DPS, our students, and our school community, and of course the East Greenbush Central School District, thank you so much for everything you've done this year and in years past to support our Odyssey of the Mind program. Thank you. The font on the next one's really small, so it's got to be someone younger. Mr. Grignon, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wayne Grignon. I'm the principal of Janae Elementary School. And on behalf of the Janae School community, I'd like to welcome up and stand next to me, Caitlin. Where are you, Caitlin? Caitlin Hegg, come on up here with me. This is outside her comfort zone. So, and yes, we both did plan on wearing purple today, right? So it's wonderful to see so many smiling faces here today. We're gathered to celebrate something truly special, the incredible spirit of volunteerism that makes Janae such a fantastic place for our kids. And today we have two shining examples that show this spirit, and we want to shower them with appreciation. And it's what I would refer to as a dynamic duo that we have at Janae. I affectionately named them the Book Fair Boss Ladies. The one and only, I have Caitlin here, and also Amy Parada, who could not be here tonight. So since 2022, Caitlin and Amy have fearlessly taken over the reins of our annual Scholastic Book Fair. And just to let everyone know that under their leadership, it just wasn't a book fair. It was a literary extravaganza, is how I would put it. Each year, it was like they had some sort of magic between the two of them with the fundraising sorcery, as I would refer to it as they managed to make it bigger and better each year for our kids. And each year they set a bar to meet a goal and raise it each year that would directly impact how things were done at Janae. And who would benefit the most from their efforts, but our own amazing library that we have at Janae Elementary School. And thanks to their partnership that they forged with our school librarian, Sarah Garno, Caitlin and Amy ensured that every penny raised went towards filling our shelves with exciting new adventures and breathtaking life books and our well-beloved sections that the kids love to go to, and also replacing some of those well-read titles that really needed desperately to be rebinded, or we just needed new copies. And Mrs. Garno, just so you know, shared with me that each year that they increased the sales enough each time that Scholastic, where we used to have to fight them to get restocked, started sending us so much that we were inundated with what they sent to us, but also we would also get restocks during that time for our kids, which was truly amazing. And Mrs. Garno also shared with me that it's been a joy to work with both of you, and that you both have gone above and beyond with helping the book fair, and that she will miss you both very dearly next year. But they didn't stop there. Caitlin and Amy, in their infinite wisdom and generosity, started a truly heartwarming tradition, making sure that every single Janae Jaguar goes home for the summer with a brand new book, which was a huge undertaking. Think about that. Because of their efforts, every child had a chance to dive into a new story during their summer break, preventing the dreaded summer reading slump which, as we all know, is sometimes a real thing for kids. And they single-handedly were fighting illiteracy, which is also truly amazing, one book at a time. So in my opinion, they are basically the superheroes of summer reading for Janae. Now, Caitlin and Amy have also been really important members of our Janae PTO since their wonderful children graced our kindergarten halls. And and then when I came down 6 years ago from Gulf Middle School, these two wonderful women were the first to welcome me to the Janae family. They made my transition smoother, and then also, I would say it was smoother than a freshly Zamboni'd ice rink, is how I would equate it. And for that and so much more, I will always be internally grateful to both of them. And also, each year, I always try to do a little fact digging on each of my. So today, I went straight to the source, to their delightful fifth grade daughters who will be leaving us at the end of this year. And they were also part of my first kindergarten class when I made the transition down. And they're about to start their adventure at Gulf Middle School next year. So when I asked their daughters for a little bit of dirt, these lovely daughters painted a picture of gold for me. Is that okay? Okay. They both shared the following words with me: kind, funny, dedicated, caring, and devoted. And honestly, I couldn't have come up with a better set of adjectives myself. It sounds like that the two daughters, Annalise, who's here tonight, wave Annalise, truly learned from the best. Okay. However, you ready, Annalise? I told you. There is something Annalise shared with me which makes me want to talk to you about this. Annalise shared with me, she did let slip one little secret. Apparently, Caitlin, you have a fake laugh. That's it right there. And Annalise gave me a demonstration in my office and showed me how it went. So now, Caitlin, I have to ask, all those times at the PTO meetings or our meetings that we discussed, was that the laugh? Like, were you just like entertaining me at these public forums? Because I might need to go back and reevaluate some of our conversations if that's the case. So, but in all seriousness, Caitlin and Amy, your dedication, your hard work, and your unwavering commitment to our students and our school community has been nothing short of extraordinary. You have poured your hearts and souls into Janae, revitalized the Janae Book Fair to new levels never seen before. The impact that you made is truly insurmountable. You fostered a love of reading, supported our library, ensured students had access to the magic of books. On behalf of the entire Janae school community, our students, our staff, and our families, we extend our deepest and most heartfelt gratitude. Thank you, Caitlin and Amy, for everything. While we will miss you dearly, and we wish you the very best as your children move on to Goff. And who knows, maybe Goff Middle School could use a couple of book fair superheroes next year too. Just a thought. Thank you both from the bottom of our hearts, and let's please give them a round of applause. All right, and next up, I'd like to welcome up Mr. Garrett from Green Meadow.
Thank you, Mr. Grignon. The volunteer I would like to recognize this evening, unfortunately, cannot make it, but that does not make her volunteerism any less appreciated. Heather Lacasse, I'm sure I know we have some Green Meadow board members, current and past, so I'm sure you're familiar with the Lacasse family, and I'm sure we have people in the audience. But Heather Lacasse currently serves as our board secretary of our PTO. She's been involved for many, many years. Two great boys, Connor and Caleb. Connor is still in fourth grade, so we can keep, just like we're having you on the payroll, Anne-Marie, we can keep Heather on the payroll a couple more years. She's just fantastic, very dedicated. She manages all the PTO's social media, Facebook, Instagram, chairs our Square One art fundraiser, which is always very, very successful. She gets involved in all of our events. One particular event that she's extremely involved in is our color run, which is a whole lot of work behind the scenes, but a whole lot of fun for the kids and, quite frankly, the adults. It's a lot of fun too for all of us. And she also participates every year at the fifth grade social. It's something we do at Green Meadow, Fifth grade parents are not allowed to volunteer at the fifth grade social. It's because we like this to really be a night out for the kids, even though it's only an hour and a half and it's all daylight, but we call it a night out. But Heather comes every year and she volunteers. She won't be able to next year though, because Connor will be in fifth grade. But I will make sure she gets her certificate and she knows how much she is appreciated. And I thank you all for listening and thank the board and the administration for hosting this great tradition every single year. Thank you. And now we have the wonderful Mrs. Squillace.
Thank you, Mr. Garab. Well, welcome everyone. It's a great night. And again, I agree, Mr. Simons, it's one of my favorite evenings for board nights to recognize all of the awesome volunteers. And it's great to listen to what the rest of you have done. I would like to invite my friend Camille Bright to come up and stand with me. Come on up, Camille. Red Mill was so pleased to select Camille for the Esteemed Recognition of Volunteer of the Year Award. I could have picked her every single year for all the years that she's been here, and she's joined tonight by her two lovely daughters, Violet and Charlotte, who are there. They're fourth graders at Red Mill School. And, you know, we steal Camille a lot from her family, and thank your husband, Dr. Nagel, for us as well. Camille is really like a ray of sunshine at Red Mill. She gives tirelessly of her time, her energy, and her talents to make Red Mill a better place for our kids, for our families, and for our staff. As our treasurer of the PTO, Camille ensures that we remain on track with our fundraising goals, making it possible to give back in so many ways. The PTO really just makes our school that much more fun for everyone. Her careful stewardship of our funds enables us to support programs and initiatives that directly benefit all of the students at Red Mill. And one of Camille's most remarkable contributions over the years has been her leadership on our Scholastic Book Fair. We actually hold it twice a year in the fall and in the spring. And this is a week-long endeavor that involves an army of volunteers. And this is the general. Okay, she makes it look simple, which is really annoying sometimes because it's not simple. There's so many classes to come and visit, and there's so many volunteers to come and help out. But she, you know, whips up the volunteers through online signups, and she's just very, very efficient. It's an enormous task, lots of planning, many hours of dedication, seamless coordination of all the volunteers, and then setting it all up and breaking it all down after the events. It's a huge fundraiser. But one of the hallmarks of Camille's leadership is her compassion. And, you know, several years back, Camille initiated a part of the Scholastic Book Program where she partnered up with our school social worker to make sure that every student was able to purchase a book at our book fair, because that's a fun thing for kids to come and shop, but not everybody has the resources to do so. So she made these beautiful coupons. She shares them with our social worker, and our social worker gets them into the right hands of students, ensuring that every child has access to the joy of reading. And that's kind of who Camille is, her empathy and her unwavering commitment to all kids at Red Mill. Additionally, she manages another fundraiser that's really neat called Original Works. She partners with our art teacher on that one. The art teacher works with our students to create beautiful pieces of artwork, and then they get to purchase it on a coffee mug or a dish towel, something that they can have as a keepsake forever. And it's a fan favorite at Red Mill, and it also raises money and gives parents a wonderful keepsake of their children's artwork. Beyond all of that, Camille is kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen HGTV, the Curb Appeal show. I mean, I'm dating myself a little bit, but Curb Appeal is like make the front of your house look good. Camille makes the front of our house look good. So every month she decorates our vestibule in Red Mill with awesome bulletin boards with catchy, fun slogans and sayings, and they're all seasonally themed and bright and pretty and welcoming. So thank you for doing that, because it's important to walk into a beautiful space, and you do that every month for us. In every single role that she undertakes, Camille embodies the spirit of volunteerism. Her passion, her generosity, her creativity makes her just an invaluable asset to Red Mill, and she is more deserving of this recognition. So thank you, Camille. Okay, next up is Ryan Jones from Athletics.
Good evening, everyone, and congratulations to all recipients tonight. For athletics, I would like to call up Coach Tom Marquette. The Columbia Athletic Department would like to recognize Tom Marquette for his many years of support and dedication to the athletic program, mainly the girls' basketball program. We'd like to honor a truly remarkable individual who has been a cornerstone of the Columbia girls' basketball program for nearly a quarter of a century. Think about that for a moment. 25 years of dedication. The countless practices, hundreds of games, and thousands of hours spent in gyms, on buses, and compiling statistics. That's a generation of young women who have benefited from Tom's guidance, his wisdom, and his commitment to their growth, both as athletes and individuals. Tom isn't just a coach, though. He's a mentor, a motivator, and a role model. He's the calming presence on the sideline, the encouraging voice, and the person that has something to say for any situation. Tom has demonstrated that over and over again and has instilled the values of teamwork, discipline, perseverance, and sportsmanship in every player who has come through the program during his tenure. Tom let it be known that this would be his last season on the Columbia sideline. That being said, he sure picked a great group to finish off his career with. A team that went 19-4, won the Suburban Council Grade Division, and played in the Section 2 championship game for the first time since 1994. It was a remarkable season. As we look back, nearly 25 years is an extraordinary commitment, a testament to Tom's passion for the game and his care for the players and community. It speaks volumes about his character and his willingness to give selflessly of his time and energy. Tom worked with around 10 different head coaches while at Columbia. Although there were changes in leadership over the years, there was always something consistent in the program, and that was Tom. So Tom, on behalf of the Columbia Athletic Department and girls basketball program, past and present, and the entire community, we want to express our deepest gratitude. Thank you for your dedication, your tireless efforts, and the positive influence you have had on countless lives. We are very, very thankful for all you have done over the years for our program and wish you nothing but the best as you hang up the whistle and stash away your stat sheets in retirement. You will be missed. Thank you, Tom. Next up, I would like to call Columbia Principal Mike Harkin.
Jay Martin, if you could join me up here. Jay Martin will be our Volunteer of the Year for Columbia High School. That's for last. Thank you. It is with great enthusiasm that I recommend Jay Martin for the Volunteer of the Year award. As the principal of Columbia, I have the privilege of witnessing Jay's unwavering dedication and service to our school community. Jay was a former SRO and proud parent of 2 Columbia students. He has been an invaluable asset to our school. Throughout the year, he volunteers tirelessly for various teams and clubs, often working behind the scenes without recognition. His commitment and selflessness contributes immensely to the positive experiences for our students, staff, and families. Beyond his direct volunteer efforts, Jay fully supports our school vision and goals. His presence at events is always a pleasure as he brings a sense of encouragement and community wherever he goes. His willingness to step up and support our programs, whether through leadership or hands-on assistance, reflects his deep commitment to the success and well-being of the Columbia students. Jay Martin exemplifies what it means to be a dedicated volunteer. I can think of no one more deserving of this recognition. Thank you for everything, Jay. Let me turn it back over to Mr. McHugh, our principal here at Goff Middle School.
Thank you, Mr. Arkin. One other round of applause for all of our volunteers. You are appreciated. At this time, Goff wanted to highlight one of our Appendix D clubs. It is our Be the Change Club. It was formerly known as No Place for Hate. So at this time, I would like to welcome Miss Rachel Mathis up to the microphone and Deputy Jay Gravel, who also assists with that Appendix D Club.
Mr. McHugh, I just want to let the audience know that after this presentation, we're going to take a short intermission because we want to get a group photo of all of our volunteers that are being recognized. Mr. Adam, our public information specialist, in the back, and we also want to treat you to some refreshments. So thank you all for, again, your service to the district. We'll turn it over to Rachel.
Hi, everyone. As Mr. McHugh mentioned, I'm Rachel Mathis, and I'm really, really proud to be the advisor for Be the Change here at Goff Middle School. Before I introduce everybody else, I just wanted to express some quick thanks to people who really support and help everything that we do, especially to Deputy Jay Gravel, because he's an amazing support for the club. Mr. McHugh, Mrs. Hoffman, Mr. O'Malley, Mrs. Mahoney, Mr. Simons, Mr. Adam and Ms. Krell, I really appreciate all of the support that we get. So thank you so much. I'm very proud to introduce our two club officers today. They are Stella Sachs, our president, and Abdulbar Olaganju, who is our vice president. And they've been simply amazing this year. So I like to say that everything that we do as a club, really, Deputy Jay and I just support the kids. The kids come up with these ideas, they put all the work in. You know, we support them however we can, but they really do all the work. So they've been amazing this year, and I'm really, really proud of what they've accomplished. So they're going to talk to you about a project that we just finished this year. It's called the Identity Tiles Project. And they're going to tell you more, but I just wanted to share that the whole purpose was this project was designed to help everybody at Goff realize that even though we are unique in wonderful ways, we actually have so much in common with each other. So I'm going to just turn it over to the kids, but first, did you want to share anything, Deputy Jay? No? Well said. Okay, all right. So here we go, without further ado.
Hello, we are Be the Change from Goff Middle School. I am President Stella Sachs, and this is
Vice President Abdulbar Olaganju.
And we're representing our many club members. We hold this club very close to our hearts, and so does the school. We thrive on positivity, cooperation, and equality to make sure we are one strong group of students. We couldn't do this without our instructors, Mrs. Mathis and Deputy Jay, who help us so much along the way.
The Identity Tiles Project. The Identity Tiles Project began as a small idea last year. We put this idea into action by working on several steps. We met with Mr. McHugh to ask for permission, then we calculated prices for the materials. It has taken us months to pass out, collect, sort, and organize for this project. Many students, teachers, and staff members participated in the school-wide project.
The project we started is in hope that we will show everyone that we're all equal, but in different ways, that everyone is different. These tiles are a representation of our true selves here at Goff Middle School. The tiles spell out, be yourself, be unique, and be the change.
Planning for the project. First, we raised money by doing bake sales during parent-teacher conferences. Then we researched to find the supplies for the project. We made posters and went on morning announcements to promote the school-wide activity.
Cooperation is the only thing that made it possible for this to succeed. Teachers handed out the tiles during their CCS periods, and students decorated their tiles with drawings or quotes that represented them. We also invited all of the staff in the building to design a tile. There was a wide variety of tiles. The project was a major success thanks to all the club members and staff who worked hard on this project.
Assembling the project. Once everyone completed and handed in their tiles, we went through them all. We checked to make sure we included everyone in the building who wanted to participate. Then we decided that the motto for our mile would be yourself, be unique, be the change. We also added hearts to the display, including all of the tiles. With many members of the club assisting, we began to hang up all of the tiles, and with many achy hands and arms later, we finished.
We just wanted to say thank you all for listening to our overview of our project here at Goff. We also want to thank our members and teachers who participated in our project. We couldn't have completed this project without you. Thank you so much. We are Be the Change.
You guys did a fabulous job. And there's a picture of many of our club members in front of our mural. If you get a chance, it's actually out in the hall right here. So if people wanted to take a minute and take a look during the reception, I think that would be great. So thank you so much.
We'll break now for a short recess. All right, moving on to approval of the draft minutes for April 7th, 2025, for a special meeting. We had everyone present. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Buno, is there a second? Ms. Van Orton, everyone in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes. Moving on to approval of draft minutes for the April 8th, 2025 meeting. No comments or questions. Is there a motion to approve? Ms. Turner, is there a second? Ms. Steinbach, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes. And moving on to the board forum. I'll start on my right, Ms. Steinbach.
All set, thanks.
All right,
All set, thank you.
all right. Ms. O'Brien,
I'm good, thank you.
Ms. Turner.
I just want to say that Goff is getting Caitlin Heeg next year for Scholastic Book Fair. So she's already been sucked in and she's set up.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. I do want to announce that the district the board has finalized negotiations with a future superintendent, and we will be announcing more at a special meeting on the 24th. More to come, please stay tuned. That's all I got, Mr. Mann. All right, Mr. Buno.
Yes, thanks, Jesse. Just wanted to say thank you to the Goff administration and all the administrators for the volunteer recognition. I've always thought that volunteerism is the core of a community, and especially when it supports our schools. And all the folks who are involved with the school district, and you can see the many events that are happening just in around Goff here and around our community, especially in our ball fields and things like that as sports starts up in the spring. I just want to thank everyone for their support, and to stay with, as you're a volunteer, I'd encourage you to stay with your children as they go through the district buildings. It's so important as we continue that progression into their school and their education that that you maintain that connection. I think it's really important, and if you can do that, it'd be great. So thank you again for all your support, and I appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Buno. Mr. Mercy.
All set.
All set. Ms. Van Orton.
I just want to reiterate a special thank you to our volunteers. I know my one yearly shift at the book fair is absolutely overwhelming for me. So I really appreciate everything that is being put in behind the scenes by everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Van Orton.
We appreciate that.
Okay, and we're going to move on to the budget presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Temple. I want to thank all of the members of the community who stayed for the budget presentation. This is our fourth budget workshop. The board, by law, has to approve the proposed budget this evening in order for the district to meet the New York State requirements for making sure that we meet the community's notice in terms of notifying the community regarding the budget and the opportunity to vote on the budget and the board election. So since our last meeting, which was on April 8th, we have made some changes to the budget proposal. Those changes, before we get into the details of the slide, include we have made a determination to recommend to the board that we maintain the CTAP program at Janae Elementary School. So that program was under consideration for a change and a shift to the high school. We made a determination to keep that at Janae, and we're going to be adjusting the staffing a little bit. There may be one fewer teaching assistant, and there may be psychologist time assigned to that program, but also to some of the evaluations that need to be done within the special education program. All those details aren't finalized, but the program, I would recommend, remain at Janae. With all of the programs and the reductions within the budget, it's important for the community to understand some of the themes that I tried to talk about at the last 3 previous budget sessions. We're facing a budget gap that's fairly significant between our estimated expenses next year and the revenues that we're going to receive. Unique to this year, this is the first year in a long time that boards of education across the state of New York are required legally to approve their budgets when we don't have a full understanding of what our revenue is going to be from the state. The state budget is delayed by at least 2 weeks now, and we're being told it's going to be further delayed. So our revenue estimates included within this budget include what the governor had proposed for our district. We don't anticipate that there will be an increase, but we are looking at some other provisions that were proposed that may help us with the budget as we move forward. So within the structure of the budget, there's room to make changes, but everybody has to keep in mind, because we're facing this budget gap, if we put anything back into the budget, we have to take something out of equal value or more cost. So that's a tricky thing to try to do. Our budget is driven by our need to make sure that our students continue to excel with excellent accomplishment of our students at all levels. Our staff and our programs are recognized not only in the region, but across the state. We are a top-notch district, and even in times when we have to make tough choices and we have to make cuts, we try to preserve our mission, our board goals, and our program emphasis. So we're going to talk about those things in just a bit. We'll talk specifically about how the budget proposal has changed since April 8th. We brought the overall budget proposal down in terms of the expense side, and we've also adjusted the tax levy increase down slightly. We're going to go through some of the same tax levy history that we talked about at the prior 3 sessions. Over the course of the last 4 years, we have been very mindful of the impact of school district expenses on the taxpayers. We have one of the lowest average tax levy increases of any comparable district in the region. And so we're going to be asking the community this year for a little bit more support in terms of the tax levy increase that we're proposing, which currently exceeds the New York State tax cap. And we're going to by about 1.61%. We're going to show you how that may impact the average taxpayer. We do have staff reductions within this budget. It's not something that we want to do or wish to do, but I shared with the board and with the community a report that showed that over the course of the last several years, we've added staff where needs required it. But now, as we are moving into a tough situation in terms of revenue, we have to adjust our staffing levels back over the course of the next couple of years. We'll talk about the what ifs. What if the first budget doesn't pass? What does that mean for a second budget vote, which would occur on June 17th? What if the second budget vote doesn't pass and we have to go to what's called a contingency budget? I can tell you we don't want to be in a contingency budget situation, because you can't raise the taxes at all, and the cuts will be much more dramatic, and that will impact our program significantly. We'll talk about what specifically is on the ballot, not only the budget, the board election. We also have the resolutions to support the bus purchase reserves, and then we'll talk about next steps. So our district, again, is one of the most accomplished districts in the region. We have been recognized by U.S. News and World Report, both at the elementary level and at the middle school level, as being one of the top-ranked districts, not only in the region, but in the nation, including Columbia High School several years ago, was mentioned in U.S. News and World Report. For 3 years in a row, we were selected by the region as the Times Union Best School District, and we're still waiting to hear whether or not we're going to get that distinction again this year. And for several years, more than 20 years, because of our emphasis on safety of the children, the faculty, and the staff, we have received the Utica National Insurance recognition for excellence in safety. Our students' accomplishments range from performances in the arts, the art shows that our students participate in throughout the region, our artwork provided by our exceptional art teachers to support the students and bringing out the gifts in our students, such as you saw tonight, is displayed across the region in very competitive art shows. Our athletic teams have won 5 sectional championships this year, and the spring season isn't concluded yet. This is a snapshot of our boys bowling team. Our students are recognized by the town of East Greenbush for the excellence in service that they provide through the Spotlight on Youth Award. Additionally, we have students that are competing in the science fair sponsored by Regeneron, and we had an 8th grader right here at Goff Middle School selected for the New York State Music Association All-State Band. Additionally, our Columbia High School musical this year, there is a version for school districts of the Tony Awards for musicals, and we have been nominated for 2 awards. Our pit band, under the direction of Scott Holliday, has been nominated for what they do to support the musical, and we also have one of our students who was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and that is Holly Thorpe, who performed in the most recent musical, and she portrayed Rapunzel. Additionally, you heard about the volunteers that support the Donald P. Sutherland project program tonight, Regional Odyssey of the Mind. That program has been very successful to the point that we qualified and placed first at the regional championships. Additionally, our staff has been recognized. We have Becky Cook at Green Meadow, who has been selected as a New York State Master Teacher. We have Monica Barnes, who was recognized 8th grade English teacher here at Goff for a top Channel 13 Top Teacher Award. We've had many Channel 13 top teachers, as well as we have several New York State Master Teachers. Our strength and conditioning coach and physical education teacher, Tom Labardi, was recognized by the National High School Strength and Conditioning Association as the New York State Coach of the Year, and Chris Dietrich, our PE teacher at Green Meadow and Columbia High School varsity baseball coach, was recognized and inducted into the New York State Baseball Hall of Fame. So lots to be proud of. And recently, and I think she was here, I don't know if she's still here, Christine Blake, Goff Middle School math teacher, was recognized as the EGTA Teacher of the Year. We have worked over the course of the last 2 years to align our discussions, our programs, our expectations for students, and we're in the process of putting together an implementation plan called Portrait of a Graduate. What is our expectation of all students, regardless of background and experience, by the time they leave Columbia High School? And our budget priorities have to reflect the capacity of our district to be able to meet that expectation. Portrait of a Graduate. We want all of our students to graduate from Columbia as confident learners. We want our students to be adaptable, effective communicators, empathetic, and critical thinkers. Additionally, our board has identified 3 priority areas in which we focus our work: to be future-driven, to make sure that we are preparing students for the world of work and education that they are entering in, which is very different from when some of us went to school. To be whole learner focused, to make sure that we're not only meeting the academic needs of the students, but we're meeting the social emotional needs of our students, the nutritional needs of our students, and the importance of helping all students feel connected to each other and feel valued in our school district, and safe and inclusive, not only the physical safety of our buildings, but the sense of efficacy and feeling emotional safety among our staff, our kids. So all of these things drive our budget, even when there are times when we don't have enough revenue to keep up with our expenses. We have a 94% graduation rate. All of our schools are in good standing under the New York State Education Department. We have an integrated technology program, which includes we provide Chromebooks to every student from the time they enter the school district to the time they graduate. We replenish those Chromebooks to make sure that the students have working technology. Over the course of the last few years, we've invested a lot of money in professional development and training for our teachers. We were doing the science of reading before they called it the science of reading. We have put a lot of effort into the work that Lisa Mahar is doing with our elementary teachers, because early intervention is critically important for the success of the students as they move through the grade levels. They need to be able to read effectively and write effectively, and we measure that through some tools that we've been utilizing in the district, which are part of this budget. The board approved a career awareness program at Goff Middle School to make sure that our students, as they are thinking about high school and the courses that they want to take in high school, are aware of the careers that may be available to them so that they can make more choices, more informed choices about the pathways they want to choose. And our board is proud to be the largest participant in career and technical education within the Questar BOCES. We have more than 90 students that participate in CTE, and this budget continues to support advanced placement and college credit options that we currently have for students next year. Did I lose it? In the area of whole learner, you know that the board supported the implementation of a universal pre-K program about 4 years ago now. Our budget will support 165 slots next year. That will include a slight change to the sites at which we are offering that program. We provide access to mental health services. Over the course of the last few years across our country, teenagers have been challenged by emotional and social, emotional, and mental health issues. We've added social worker support at the high school and the middle school. We will maintain that social worker support. We have a social worker dedicated in each elementary school. We have 3 at the high school, and we have 2 at the middle school. Those are all included within the budget. I mentioned the 90 students in CTE, and the board has seen the excellence that our ENL teachers provide our students. We have many more students who are moving into the district and families from other countries, and we've increased the amount of ENL services that we have to provide. Our district has a great reputation across the state in the area of being safe and in valuing diversity. We've updated our safety plans this year, including the work that Ryan Jones did to help the district develop a program of safety protocols for after-school programs and athletics. We have our buses equipped with stop arm cameras, which was an initiative that Mark Mann, our board member, brought to us. All of our buses have equipment on it, so if someone is passing a school bus illegally, we are able to enforce that law in working with law enforcement. We provided safety training for all of our students and families. What do they do in the event of an active shooter? And additionally, we also have had programs come in to help kids learn about healthy choices, including Sweetheart and Heroes, which Mr. McHugh is actually a part of and a presenter. And we also have a new program through Questar called Empowering Student Voices, which teaches kids to value diversity types of programs that you saw this evening. And we've hosted a number of community events in our schools. We also are in the process of implementing the capital project. We are grateful for the community support last year in approving a $116 million capital project. The tennis courts and the basketball courts at the high school have already started, and we're having a groundbreaking ceremony on Friday. This project is outside the general fund budget, but it is an example of the investment that the board supports and the community supports in upgrading our facilities. If we pass the budget at the proposed tax levy increase, we will be preserving a number of programs for students. When we're in a situation where we're talking about cuts, it's easy to focus on that, but what are we preserving within this budget? We're preserving our academic offerings, including our elective courses. We're preserving arts, music, and athletic offerings, mental health services, and emotional supports. We had talked about potentially reducing staff at Goff Middle School, and that reduction in the staff would not enable us to implement the teaming. This budget proposes to keep the staff at Goff Middle School so that we can continue to implement that teaming model in 6th and 7th grade, which is critically important for kids to develop connections with each other and to receive the kind of support they need from the teachers. Special education-related services and ENL support. While we are reducing special education staff, some of those reductions are shifting the teachers into a different funding source. We also have done an analysis of where we could reduce. So all the services that we provide now in special education and ENL will be maintained. Our class sizes at the elementary school level, the middle school level, and the high school level are all below the district guidelines. Again, we're also maintaining the same number of career technical education slots that we have this year, advanced placement, college credit courses, and extracurricular clubs. I point this out because we are asking the community for more support than what we have in the past. And I think it's important to realize that the excellence that we started talking about at the beginning of this presentation will be preserved by providing this budget with a little bit more help from the local tax base. The budget has changed since the last board meeting. You remember that where we were on April 8th, we had shared scenario 1 with the board and the community. That budget was projected to spend $115.5 million, which represented a 3.45% increase over the current year's budget. We made an additional $358,530 in reductions which brings the budget to 115.1, which represents a 3.13% increase in the overall budget next year from this year. If we lived within the tax cap, which is 3.19%, our board and our district would have to cut an additional $947,000. And that would begin to hit program more dramatically. Okay, so we want to avoid that by asking the community to support a budget over the tax cap. The additional reductions included a couple of years ago, we were fortunate to have the revenue to start paying some of our volunteer assistant coaches. We've adjusted that back, and we are going to hope that we have more volunteers who will continue to assist our head coaches on the sidelines and at practices, but we reduced 6 paid assistant coaching stipends. We also are proposing to eliminate stipends for 2 department chairs for smaller departments. That's the alternative education department, and it is the CTE, which is business, tech, and family consumer science. We considered reducing another elementary position. Right now, the reductions were at 5. We decided not to do that and to reduce in some of these other areas, okay, which offset those that cost of the reduction of the additional teacher. We did reduce an additional psychologist position. We had a retirement come in last week. We're going to hope to be able to make the schedule work with 2 fewer psychologists in total. In the event that we need to provide more support in some programs, I think it's important to remember that we have 3 social workers at the high school, we have 2 social workers at the middle school, and we can adjust the schedule to provide some support. The psychologists do a lot to support the students in all of our schools, but we wanted to see if we could make that adjustment rather than consider some other options because somebody retired. We're shifting another special ed teacher into the IDEA grant, which is the Individuals for Disabilities Education Act that is outside the general fund. So there are now 2 teachers being funded in the IDEA grant in addition to what we're funding now. Reducing a teaching assistant, 2 typist positions. Okay? We have talked in the past about the need to do more sharing across the offices. Okay, we have 3 high school secretaries in the main office. We've had a vacant assistant principal's secretary, and we had 2 in the counselor's office. We had 1 secretary in the counselor's office leave to take another position, so that will be 1 reduction, and we'll maintain 1 secretary in the guidance office. We're going to assign 1 of the 3 main office secretaries to the assistant principal's office, so that would be covering that. And we're proposing to do a similar model where we share secretaries here at the middle school by reducing the dedicated assistant principal secretary, which was associated with the 3rd assistant principal, and moving somebody from the main office to cover that. So we think that that makes sense given where we're at with the budget. So the tax levy increase was reduced. Oh, and we are adding back one of the UPK classrooms to a community-based provider. We had proposed potentially going from 4 within our school buildings to 2 within our school buildings and shifting 2 to the community-based providers. This budget proposes to keep 3 within our individual elementary schools run by Questar and moving 1 to one of the community-based organizations. If one of the state proposals, which is to increase the amount per student that our district will receive from $5,400 a student to $6,700, if we get that $6,700 per student, we may be able to cover the cost of the additional class coming back and being located as it is now for programs. Again, we're waiting for the state budget to pass. And we reduced certain expenses for software and equipment. We looked at what teachers and staff were utilizing. We also looked at distance learning, which is currently not being utilized, and we made some cuts. So the tax levy increase was reduced by 0.39% from the proposed 5.19% to 4.80%, which decreased our revenue projections next year by $230,000, but also decreased our use of reserves by $128,472. We're thinking both about next year, but also following years, subsequent years. And we need to make sure that we don't spend the total amount that we allocated in reserves to fund our budget and to close the gap. So those are the changes that occurred since April 8th. Just to reemphasize, it includes a 4.8% tax levy increase. So while it is under 5, it is still over the tax cap by about 1.61%. The total budget would be $115.1 million. Our total revenue with the projected tax levy increase is $107.5 million. Leaves a deficit of $7.6 million, and we're going to fill that gap with appropriation of reserves. Reserves are monies that have been set aside by the Board of Education for a rainy day, and as we move into next year, looking at a $4 million increase in the budget, with 70% of that increase associated with employee benefits, and the main driver of that increase is prescription drugs, which everybody knows are out of control. If we had to propose a budget under or within the tax levy cap is 3.19% right now. This would be, if this budget doesn't pass, this would be a budget that the board would have to discuss. It would include another additional $950,000 of cuts. So we don't want to do that. We want to pass the budget on the first try. As you look at a summary of the overall budget, you can see that we are increasing our revenue from the local tax levy by about $2.8 million. We told the board that we anticipated receiving less money from pilot arrangements, which are payment in lieu of taxes agreements, for which businesses receive incentives through reduced taxes for job retention and job growth. Our state aid is estimated to increase $562,000. Overall, state aid is only going up 1.51% when you consider foundation aid as well as expense-driven aids. So to highlight, our revenues in the proposed budget are $107.5 million, but our expenses are $115.1. So our structural budget deficit being filled by fund balance is $7.625 million. So when I say we got to be mindful about that, we want to come in under that in terms of how we spend money next year. So just a summary of the reductions that have been made since the 8th. The 5 elementary teachers is still the same. The 1 music teacher reduction is still the same. Psychologist reductions increased by 1. The elective teachers are a combination of part-time positions at the high school and the middle school in the areas of technology, world languages, and the other one, Mr. Stiles? The other technology? Art. Okay. The math teacher is a retirement. Special education teacher is 2 reductions. Technology teacher is a part-time person who's a retiree. We are adding back an earth science teacher. We told the high school and the union we needed to do that this year. We do that next year. So in total, we've gone from 14.2 instructional cuts to 15.2. I skipped over the teaching assistants. There are 4 teaching assistant reductions. And I believe at this point in the year, we've already received 2 retirements. So we may receive more retirements by the end of the year. In the non-instructional areas, we have some vacant custodial positions. We're going to reduce 1 and fill the other 2. Peter Goodwin's technology department indicated that they could operate without replacing a secretary, so there is nobody in that position right now. Library typists are a combination of part-time people that work in our elementary schools. We will make every effort to try to assign people within the contracts to positions that become vacant by the end of the year. I mentioned the golf secretarial position, the guidance position at the high school, and the main office. So all in all, the total number of instructional reductions is 15.2. The total number of non-instructional reductions is 7.47. So it's a total of 22.67 positions. Keeping in mind the data that I shared at previous meetings, we currently have 507.4 FTEs, that's instructional positions. That includes teachers, teaching assistants, and some administrators. And we have a total of 260, almost 262 non-instructional positions. And so while no one likes to make these kinds of reductions, including me, all in all, with the programs and the success that we're going to maintain for our students, I think that these are necessary. Our average class sizes are the same that they were 2 meetings ago. We're only reducing the 5 elementary positions. We haven't added any more. They range from an average in kindergarten across the 5 buildings of 19.2 to 21 students in the 5th grade. I was asked through an email today if we could share how these reductions are going to affect each individual building. We really can't right now because we have to see what happens with enrollment. We don't have the flexibility within our budget to commit to the number of sections in each building until such time as we see what happens with enrollment between now and June. But either way, we're going from 95 teachers to 90 teachers, and we're going to have to make the 90 teachers work. At the middle school level, again, we're maintaining the teaming. The class sizes are projected for next year, 6th grade, 22 in our core courses, 7th grade, 20 in our core courses, 8th grade, 21 in our core courses. And then you see the numbers in our encores, which is like art, music, and world languages, and technology, and other courses, family consumer science. And then in the high school. The high school schedule is a projection. There are things that change within the high school schedule. So at this point, I can't tell you exactly what classes will run, but I can tell you that there were fewer reductions at the high school than there were at other levels because we reviewed the need to keep elective courses and AP courses in place for the students. And we also reviewed how reducing in some areas would impact kids that were on either a world language pathway or on a business pathway. We have an agreement with Siena College. So we maintained those positions so that kids could finish those programs. Moving to the tax levy, this graph, we share this every year, represents the New York State tax cap compared to what our board actually determined regarding the tax levy. And you can see every year for the last several years, our board has done a good job of keeping our budget tax levy under the tax cap. In fact, over the course of the last 5 years, our average tax levy has been 1.17%. It needs to go up in order to have sufficient recurring revenue to fund our programs. So next year, we are proposing to increase it 4.8%, which is again 1.61% over the cap. Regionally, comparing East Greenbush to other comparable districts, mostly districts in the suburban council, we have the lowest average tax levy increase over the last 5 years of any comparable districts. Additionally, we do our best to try to estimate how the average taxpayer will be impacted by this, but it is only an estimation. We don't know that all the taxable values of the properties remain the same. We don't know exactly how the levy would be apportioned across each of our 5 towns. We don't necessarily control the equalization rates. So we only control the amount of money that we need to collect next year to support our program. Right? And we need to collect 4.8% total increase in the levy. At the 4.8%, we will raise about $2.8 million of recurring revenues. That means revenues that are added to the tax levy, and when we increase the taxes in the following year, it has a multiplier effect. The average taxpayer who owns a house of $400,000 will pay about $20.88 more per month. Okay, you multiply that by 12, it's $240, $250 a year. Okay, pointing out, however, if we had a budget at the 3.19%, the difference between the budget impact at the tax cap on the average taxpayer and the budget impact at the 4.8% on the average taxpayer is about $7 per month. So it's about an $84 annual difference between keeping our budget at the cap and going to the 4.8 for the average homeowner of a $400,000 house. Again, just to summarize, why do we need to raise taxes above the cap? To preserve our programs. To preserve our programs. To continue to offer the academic programs, the elective courses, the arts, the music, the mental health services and emotional supports the special education, keep the class sizes reasonable to be able to meet those early learning needs, and keep our offerings, including CTE, advanced placement and college credit, extra clubs and activities. If the budget fails on the first vote, we have to bring the second budget within the cap. And as I said, that's an additional $950,000 of cuts. And the things that we chose not to include would be on the table in terms of discussions with the board. I'm not saying necessarily that this is what we would do, but the board will have some very difficult decisions to make because we're going to have to cut the equivalent of about 9 more FTEs, which is full scale equivalent teachers or non-instructional staff. So we want the budget to pass on the first try. Additionally, if the budget fails in the second vote, we go to contingency. You can't raise taxes at all under contingency budget, and there are also other constraints. We would have to cut an additional $2.8 million from what we've already reduced in this budget. We also have to adhere to an administrative cap, which is a formula that is used to compare the percentage of your budget next year dedicated to administration versus the budget this year. We also have to declare what we consider to be contingent items, items that are necessary, and items that are not necessary from a legal standpoint and an educational standpoint. So it's a complicated maze in a formula, but the bottom line in the contingency budget is we're going to have to cut a lot more, and we don't want to be there. We do not want to be there. Additionally, you will see on the ballot the proposed budget of $115.1 million with a tax levy increase of 4.8. We are proposing to use money that is set aside and was approved by the community to purchase and replace buses. We're proposing to buy 8 new buses, 4 66-passenger, 2 28-passenger, and 2 wheelchair buses. We have a bus replacement schedule. Older buses with higher mileage are replaced, so we keep our buses efficient and safe. We have a separate proposition to use monies in the reserve fund to begin the process of meeting the state's mandate to no longer be able to purchase gas or diesel buses by 2027, which is an unreasonable mandate, but at the same time, we want to start that process. We also are asking the community to pass another resolution authorizing the board to create another bus purchase reserve. The bus purchase reserve has reached its allowable deposits. It needs to be utilized and transferred into a new reserve. And we also have a Board of Education election. We have 3 3-year terms that are open, and we have one 1-year term because Mr. Mann has, after 17 years of service, decided that he will complete his service at the end of this year. And yesterday was the deadline. We have 5 candidates for 4 seats. So we have 5 Board of Education, and I will announce those candidates at the public hearing. Next steps, the board is required to have just some discussion tonight, some deliberation, and to adopt the proposed budget. That overall budget includes the spending amount, the proposed tax levy increase, and the estimated use of reserves. The board approves the amount that authorizes the community to give us permission to spend up to that amount, and it also authorizes the proposed tax levy associated with that. The intricacies inside the budget in terms of cuts, shifts, things that we can still work on, the board is not necessarily approving all of that in specific detail, and there's still some time to change things as needs emerge. The budget vote and board election is May 20th. We're requiring 6 out of 10 people who go in to vote to pass the budget because the New York State tax cap law requires a supermajority vote. And we're hoping that people will come out and support and understand our case. Second vote, if needed, will be June 17th. Well, I thank the time that you've all put in to listen. I certainly thank the board members for all of their time and effort in trying to consider the challenges of next year's budget. And I will take any questions, concerns, or ideas from the board at this time.
I'll go first since no one else seems to be stepping up. So, Mr. Simons, on the staff reductions, how many are related to attrition and how many are actually layoffs?
A large majority of them are attrition. At this point, in terms of teachers, there may be 2 or 3 layoffs. We don't have a full accounting of the retirement.
Okay.
There are some people that are not eligible for the retirement incentive who don't have until the end of the year to put their notice in. And on the non-instructional side, I think it's 1 or 2. So it's a small number, and we're trying to work that down as positions become open. There's also an option for teachers who may be impacted by a reduction in force. We have long-term leaves next year. We have at least 1 now that we know of. So when the end of the process is completed, we hope to be able to move those folks into positions, but we can't guarantee that.
I do want to say I do appreciate the administration, Jennifer and Mr. Simons and others in the administration to look at getting that number below the 5% and preserving programs the way you did. I appreciate that you took a second look at some of those things to make sure that we can get this budget supported at the supermajority at 60%. I think, in my mind, you've done that work, and I know there's other work to be done in the future years to keep the budget under control. The other thing is the staffing piece. You had presented previously a 5-year summary of the budget. I'm sorry, the staffing pieces. How does the current staffing compare to previous year's staffing, going back maybe 3 or 4 years?
Well, I think it's still more than it was 3 or 4 years.
Correct, right.
In all areas, but it's less than what it will, next year will be certainly
Less than previous year, but really
Yeah.
still higher than.
It's still higher than it was
past.
4 years ago.
And our student enrollment over the years has been pretty much the same, correct?
Yeah, slightly increased, but varying, but not
Around
to the
4,200.
point that it translates to a lot of other.
And the same thing for our K-5, 6, 8, high school.
Right.
Pretty much stable populations, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, there were years, Mr. Buno, where we were doing far fewer sections of elementary levels,
Correct.
multi-grade classes and things like that, that didn't really have a lot of support, but they saved money financially. So we've done some things to be more instructionally focused
Exactly.
in our budget, but we also have to be mindful of the resources that are available.
Correct. And I know that over the course of the years, the district was the beneficiary. A lot of people look at the tax levy, and just to remind folks that we were the beneficiary of a lot more tax aid at that point.
Yes.
There were other funds related to COVID. We put a lot of supports in place for students for many years. And I think, given the different factors that are as unanticipated in terms of like healthcare expenses, which really seem to be driving the budget increases of this year, last year even, and moving forward potentially, that this is a well-crafted budget. I do support that we go out with, and my personal opinion is to support this budget at the 4.8% level, preserving programs. And if there are things that we can do based on the end of year of this year, obviously I want to be able to put things back in place if we can, as best of our ability. But I know there are some future years we have to deal with. So thank you for the work there. And I appreciate that, the way you really crafted this budget this year.
Thank you.
Mr. Simon, I wasn't aware that we were targeting to go underneath 5%, and I was just hoping that you could explain how we arrived at your new
I think there were some
recommendation.
discussions that occurred at the board meeting. There was some direction that said, we'd like to see you do a little bit more to bring it down. And we interpreted that to mean bring the expenses down, but also bring the proposed tax levy increase down. So, and there were some conversations early on a while ago that 5% had somewhat of a sticker shock associated at that board meeting. So it wasn't just to bring it under the 5%, but it was also, it had a net effect of reducing the amount of appropriated. There was also that consideration that had been discussed, well, we're using a lot of reserves.
So you're saying at the last board meeting that the conversation was to bring it underneath 5% and to have additional cuts?
No, it was said that we would like to see more done to be, to achieve more long-term savings. And so, some of the things that we're doing outside of this process is we're having discussions with all of our unions about what other ideas are out there, try to reduce some costs, what other options are out there. And we're still having those conversations. We have meetings set up with the teachers union, and we have meetings set up with our non-instructional union. So we're still having that dialogue, but it was a combination of factors, Jesse, why we brought it down. And also, to be honest with you, to increase the probability that we pass the budget on the first try.
I got a couple of comments about it. I think we went down 0.39%. I got a couple of different perspectives. One perspective is, when we left on the 8th, I had an impression that you were making a recommendation at 5.19% with a set level of cuts. And then coming in today, there's a further reduction and then more cuts. And on one side, thinking about where we need to get to, our history of how the district been performing, I have the lens that we're going to continue the good work that we've been doing historically. The challenge that I'm having now is that last year, similarly, there was a recommendation that we go higher, and then at a subsequent meeting, that number reduced. And I'm concerned just about the process of how we consider budget recommendations and work through them, communicating the process. And I want to make sure that the way we communicate the process, I just want to feel, particularly as a board member, included as part of the recommendation. And I know there was communication about it that went out, but I'm just talking about communication of the process, how it gets implemented in the process, and ensuring that everyone is communicating around it.
So I want to address that directly, Jesse. I took feedback from the Board of Education at the last board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, they said, bring it down. That was the general direction. I'd like to see more efficiency. I'd like to see you bring it down. Okay, so that was the feedback I took. I took feedback from the public that said, we really don't like the idea of moving the CTAP program. So I took that under consideration. There was some feedback afterwards about the pre-K program and what were the options for the pre-K program, and were we considering reducing more elementary positions? Could we shift it? So all of that goes into the process that I use to determine what I'm going to come out with. And it's a consensus process. So there's 9 of you, and I try to filter all of the concerns, the needs, the wishes of the Board of Education, the wishes of the community, the faculty and the staff, and I try to come up with something that not only meets those concerns as a compromise, but also I feel can pass. And so that's how that decision was made. I can always get better at communication, okay, asking everybody, but that's the explanation. And so I sent out something in writing after this was finished. There's a lot of extensive work that Jen, Roy, I, and Marty had to do to get it to that point. And we weigh a lot of things. We go back through it over and over again. We don't enjoy increasing the number of psychologist reductions. And we try to come up with something that maintains the educational program, is sensitive to the taxpayers, gives us a little bit more permission from the community to raise that tax levy and to meet all of those competing needs. And this is what we came up with.
I just want to make sure everybody can hear us. I think to Jesse's point, I like the work that's done and gone into the budget. I think it takes a lot of data points and feedback, and I appreciate that. And I think the way it was presented tonight really kind of articulates our fiscal situation and our commitment to really key programs. So thank you for that. I know there's a ton of work that does go into this. We did leave the last meeting talking about a pretty extreme scenario just to see the numbers. And I think, I'm really comfortable where we are tonight. I think the lesson learned for next year's budget process is to maybe start earlier and really look at those sort of more extreme scenarios, given the projections into the future that are even worse than where we are now.
Right.
And so I think that's what we need to do as a board next year, is start earlier, really get the planning under control. But Jesse, I agree with your thinking, and the minutes even reflect some concurrence with the 5.19, but we also have to appreciate the data points that you get. We heard really wonderful stories from parents about programs that are really important to our most vulnerable students, and I think that's important that we listen to that feedback.
Thank you. And I did remember that projection that you asked for before you asked for it, but then we did something, we sent it out today.
Yeah.
And really to stay even, we would need a
Yep.
9% to 12% tax levy increase over the next 5 years.
Yep.
And that's just not reasonable or achievable.
Yeah.
So, but it was a good, your points, both Jesse and your points are well taken in terms of, process moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone else?
So Jeff, I support the proposal too for 4.18. I think it does make it a little bit easier to understand it's under 5. I still have big concerns on the reserve use. And, I think we need to be realistic that we're going to have severe issues, probably, right, going in the future of trying to even pass a higher cap. But we're also going to be eating away our reserves, which really comes into an angle of expenses going this way, reserves going this way. So what's the view on that? How are we going to look at that?
There's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know we say this every year. There's a lot of unknowns. We don't know what interest rates are going to be, so we don't know if our investments that Jen has made are going to yield extra revenue that we can utilize to either fund the budget or replenish some of those reserves. So that's one thing that we have to monitor, and we have you board supported the ability to be able to monitor that better. The other thing, there are some things that are under consideration regarding health insurance options that are just at the early stages of discussion. It's important for the public to recognize that we work to negotiate employee contracts, and we're obligated to follow those contracts. Well, we are discussing these kinds of ideas all the time. So there are different things that we're considering regarding health insurance that require the unions to agree to that. That may be a long-term thing. That may be next year that's reached, but those are things that we have to look at. There are retirement projections. There are a number of people that love working here and love serving the kids, and we want to keep them. But there are also, a lot of people eligible to retire that have not chosen to retire because they love their work with the kids. So that will have an impact on potential salary. I mean, going back, the salary line, if you look here, find it. We brought the salary line down because of the reductions to only 1.21%, when on average the salaries go up about 5%. Well, how can you do that? Because we had to reduce positions.
Right.
But again, when we reduce positions to attrition, if people retire, you pick up the extra expense of the retirement health insurance benefit and the new employees. So you don't get as much savings as you possibly can, but there is an attrition savings that we can try to achieve. There's other, opportunities to look at, how we organize the district in terms of savings. But I think my general answer is you try not to use that.
Yeah, agree.
You try not to use that. Right? Or
We don't spend our savings. If we
Right.
didn't help it, we are.
Right.
So.
We budgeted to fill the gap, but we try not to spend it.
So that goes back to what Sam said. I think it's really important to have that long-term range budget spending process earlier in the year. Even if you're not giving us numbers, I think it's very important to say, here's what we predict to happen this year and next year. So we don't need to anticipate such a high rate again, if we can prevent it.
I think you can presume that your budget tax levy increases will be at least at the cap for the next couple of years. Okay? If not higher.
I have another comment too. I also worry about the denseness in the presentation of the numbers. And what I mean by that is, and maybe that's too strong of a word, but I think sometimes when trying to make decisions, I think having a very high level review of, and when I say that, I mean like sometimes with the amount of information, it's kind of sometimes where are we going to focus now? And I think that's kind of like on me for not providing what I need to make a decision. But I'm just saying that, over the course of reviewing, sometimes it can be challenging, And I just wanted to say, in regards to reducing the 5.19, and the challenge that I'm having is I'm having a hard time supporting additional cuts with the reduction. And it could just be a me thing, right? But in my mind, I'm just wondering, how do we remove the cuts from the presentation? I mean, from the number. And I don't know if the board is set on the cuts, or.
You can't remove the cuts without increasing the tax levy above the 4.8 to balance the budget. So the cuts, the reduction in the expenses was associated with the reduction in the revenues.
I understand that's the position you're taking, right? From your review of what it indicates, right? Like, I understand, like, that's how you interpret all of the information, right? And I'm not, but that's kind of like what I'm thinking is that I'm not sure that I like the additional cuts. I'm not as much concerned about the tax side of it, but I am more concerned about the cut side of it.
No, and I appreciate that concern. I don't like them either. But in order to balance the equation.
Yeah, but I think one thing I look at is, when we talked about this last time, it's like, you can also be efficient. I mean, a cut doesn't actually mean that you're not providing the programs to the students and providing staff support. We have a great staff. We pay them well. They have great benefits. We have great community support, but we need to be more efficient. So this budget does part of that. And I think the reality is we're still delivering on what we said we wanted to do. So from an instructional standpoint, for me, the district is becoming more efficient, getting to a place where maybe we added too many positions. Maybe we're going back to a place where we're more efficient with our resources. So I think that has to continue. That's an ongoing thing. I think I talked about that, making sure that that continues. From the revenue, the process side, we talked about this last year where we wanted revenue status reports, right, on a regular basis. And that's supposed to give the board an understanding of where the revenue is and the expenditures are. So we have to pay attention to those things to make sure that we understand if they're heading in a direction that we're not happy with, we got to make some changes. So I think having that information, highlighting it maybe during the next year's process so people understand will be very helpful in the future as we look at next year. And again, efficiencies, delivery of program, how do we help kids, how do we help staff do their jobs in a more efficient way, preserving what we have, again, and using things that allow us to be more flexible in our work with our students. And so I think that's really what the board is charged to, is how do we set that future focus to be let happen. If people want to do 5%, then tell us you want 5% or more. If you don't and you like this, then I think let's decide what we want to do. So I think that's what the board members have to decide. Jesse, if you're going to decide, if you want to do more, then say, Jeff, guess what? Let's go to 5% and see what happens. So I think it's up to the other board members to kind of decide where they want to go.
I just want to say, Mike, like, I appreciate the efficiency perspective. I would just say that there's more than one way to be efficient, right? And my biggest concern is that at the end of the day, we are talking about positions. Like efficiency could be, right, being efficient moving forward without those cuts at the same number, right, that we watch looking forward, right, with that number, knowing what it is, how we approach future financial cash flow decisions. So my main concern is just, like, for me, it's just that, I just like to see on both ends of the spectrum. Like what I really didn't like the most is that, we were additional cuts and lower taxes. And I just like to see, I just like to see it, us approaching the revenue and expenditure side. That's what it comes down to. I think it's,
I think it's a combination.
Yeah.
Right, as we talked about last time.
And there's also a restoring of some of the stuff that was previous cut. So,
Correct.
it's like an ongoing discussion, right? That
Yep.
we build upon it every time. I think, it's helpful to reiterate that I don't, we are all distinct members, right? And we have our own opinions and what we think would pass. And I think, one of the main things is that, how is it going to look for the families, and then I appreciate that number about average $400,000 house, what it would look like. I think putting real numbers on it is helpful. I do feel like this is a district we want to go out on the first time, and we want that super majority at 60%. And I
we talked about that last time. I think understanding, where we are, where we possibly could be. I think like realistically, and I want to thank, Jeff and Jen. This is a tireless, right, time of year, and anybody who works in budget knows, and they're drained, and it's just it's not great. And you could slice and dice this so many different ways, and I think that they've done a really good job if you think about from where we first started to now. But at some point we need to say this is it, or this is what we're talking, and we can refine it, and we can what? Oh,
Today's it. right?
yeah. So, I think we need to go around. We heard that Mike and Michelle are okay with this. We need to go around. I would personally say, the change in the psychologist is worrisome to me, right? We know that we're in a youth mental health crisis. However, I'm going to trust that is not going to compromise on those types of services to the kids. Also, personally, I'm very happy that, we can keep pre-K. I think that those matter long-term. The one, the Questar one. So I appreciate that add back in. I also, I'm a little nervous about the teaching assistants, and coupled with larger class sizes, I understand that we're still well under where we have to be our ceiling. But, when you make a class size bigger and then you take away a teaching assistant, I don't know. We don't know how that's going to look. And that's my only caution, right? Is that we have to be very careful if we're going out with this, how this actually looks in a classroom and how this actually is going to fare out. And that's my worries going into this. I can support where we are today. I don't think anybody is going to walk away feeling very happy, right? But we need to get to a point where we feel confident and the community feels confident in our discussions, and that we did our due diligence, and we will continue to. I think lessons learned for next year are great, starting sooner, getting more, better insight on the revenue end. But I think at this point, we could probably talk for another hour and go back and forth, but I think we need to hear from some board members who haven't spoken on whether they're going to support this as it stands tonight. Otherwise, we will have to continue to talk, but I'm not sure where everyone else is.
I mean, I'll say I was ready to support the 5.19%, but that was also before we saw the shift in the town assessments and how that was going to potentially impact people's property tax bills with the town. And so that threw kind of an unexpected wrench in. So being able to lower to that 4.8, I think would be some welcome relief for the town. And I know that no one likes the cuts, and of course we won't really know how they feel until they are implemented. But at the same time, during the pandemic and after, with the extra money that was flowing in from the state and federal governments, it was almost like a bonus in your paycheck. And we got some extras, and that was fantastic. And when we get that bonus for several years in a row, we sometimes forget it's a bonus, and it becomes part of our pay. And then all of a sudden, it's gone. And we have to adjust back to what life was like before we had it. And I feel like that's unfortunately where we're at right now. We maybe got a little used to that bonus, and now we're having to make this shift back. But I do admire Jen and Jeff, the work you put into this to get down to where we are with only the few additional cuts that you put in. I am happy to see that, and I would support the 4.8.
I'll go next. I would support this as well. As I said at the last meeting, it's hard to feel good about it entirely when there are cuts. None of us want to implement those or see those happen. I don't think we have any choice in terms of trying to meet our fiscal obligations and also meet our fiscal responsibility toward our taxpayers who we represent. So I would support this, as well as supporting Sam's suggestion at looking at things sooner and getting that long-term perspective, because we have to rein in the use of these funds, because they're going to be drained very quickly.
I agree with everything that's been said. I was also for the 5.19. I can go with the 4.8. My only concern is the moving forward. Today, we didn't have the slide with the future projections, but that deficit is only getting larger, and that concerns me a lot. But I also understand the need for passing the budget. So, I mean, that is the primary goal, and we need to be able to do that to fund what we currently want to continue. So I would support this.
I just want to say I'm hearing quite a few. I would also support 5.19 also, and not to drag it out, but only reason why I mention it, and I don't mean to go on. Like I'm looking to, I don't mean to go on, but I just don't like the idea of cuts. I know we're saying we don't like the idea of cuts, and for me, it's a very big value proposition. People matter, jobs matter, and it's just I don't believe in getting rid of people in general unless absolutely necessary. That's just where I'm at.
Let me clarify what I was saying. So I was supportive of the 5.19, and while nobody ever wants to cut, the cuts that are made here, I think have been very strategic and thought out, and I don't like them, but I am comfortable with them. So while I would still support an increase, I don't necessarily think for me that increase in the tax levy would be accompanied by taking away the cuts.
Right.
So that.
Can I ask just a quick follow-up? Mark, sorry to cut in front of you. Jeff, you seemed a little iffy about the cutting of the psychologist and the schedule with the social workers kind of making up that gap. If the schedule doesn't work, do you have the revenue to make a change?
Yes and no. Okay.
Okay.
Let me just elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah.
Okay. There are the PPS, how the process works. The PPS department under Jessica Harris and Kara Harrington look at the needs of all of the students across the district. Primarily, the role of the school psychologist is both testing for determining special education services. In the case of CTAP, we have the CTAP psychologist here who's terrific, Sue Riss. She also provides the emotional support piece, the coordination piece for the kids to get them to school. She does a terrific job at it, and I love the program. So my reductions of staff in that program are not a reflection of my affinity for it. Okay? But in the event that so they have to look at the testing needs across the entire district, including private schools. And how do they assign those private schools testing for school psychologists? So they'll look at all of that. In the event that the needs of the students, by having the psychologist, shared or split in some way, increase, then we would likely take a look at it and likely assign a social worker a couple days a week or less to come over in that program to meet the needs of the kids. Keeping in mind that I'm proud of the fact that this district, even before I came here, maintained social workers in all of their schools. But we added them to. We went from 1 to 2 at Goff. We went from 2 to 3 at the high school in recent years. So there is an ability. It's not ideal to schedule somebody to come over a couple days a week. So the schedule is looked at on an annual basis. So I believe right now it can be done within the money that we've allocated, but certainly, our record here as an administration and a board is we take care of the needs of the kids. We will take care of the needs of the kids. We'll find a way to do it. We'll keep the board informed of that. But I think I can't guarantee you that, it's going to work out with the 2 psychologists. I can guarantee you that we will make sure that the services and the needs of the kids are addressed. And the needs change too. There's kids that move into the district. There's a list of kids that want to be in the CTAP program. Parents want their kids in the CTAP program. We have to look at all of that.
And I guess I want to say, I feel assured that I've been on here for a while, And I've never once had a situation during my tenure that you went in and said, I need this and I don't have a solution to solve this. We've always been able to adapt a little bit, and I'm assuming there's some ability to do that in here if this passes as well, right?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
it's not set in stone, there's no changes whatsoever.
We have to meet the needs of the kids. We think we can meet the needs of the kids within a $115.1 million budget.
I'm really hopeful for passage. I just want to ask sort of a contingency question. And Roy, this might be better directed at you. I know that there's been some outreach to the community-based providers for pre-K. If we have to go to our second budget option, do we have contingency plans for those school-based classrooms to move to community-based? And I feel like we shouldn't let up that work to build in those safeguards.
Yeah, so right now, sorry. So right now, there is not a way for the community-based organizations that we currently have to have all 4 of those classes, or I guess the 3 classes, to move off-site. But there are some discussions with some other community-based organizations to possibly add to. And then we also have one in particular who would be interested in providing the services in our school. So they don't have space to do it outside, but they could possibly come in.
Okay.
So there are some
So we
some
feel
options.
good about keeping,
The total number of slots I feel comfortable with,
Okay.
yes.
thank you.
So, because I had some UPK questions as well. So we're going to maintain the 2 that we have in our district, or we're maintaining 1?
We're maintaining 3.
3.
We have 4 in our district now. We're maintaining 3. We have 10 total classes, combination of the 4 in the district and 6 class sites on the outside with community-based organizations. So we're maintaining all 10.
Right. So there'll be 3 in our district.
Yes.
7 with CBOs, and no cuts whatsoever to UPK.
Correct.
Just to get on, if we get the budget passed by the state with the additional funding, potentially will help that.
The Senate had a proposal to increase to $6,700 per student from the current $5,400. If that winds up in the in the state budget, the Assembly had a $10,000 per student. Either way, that's enough money to cover the Questar costs to keep that Questar class in the district as the 4th class. It equates to exactly the same cost, about the same.
So then it would be 4 in District 6 out.
Correct, which is what it is now.
And then during your talk, I was trying to take some notes. So 22 total FTE reductions. And out of that 22, 17 are vacant positions, retirements, positions that are not currently filled, that we're not going to fill, and being efficient, as Mike said, and moving people around.
I got to think for a minute. Give me the numbers you cited again, Mark, for just a
So
minute.
I got 22 FTE reductions.
Yes,
2 to 3 in the instructional area.
Yes.
1 to 2 in the non-instructional.
That's correct.
So I just went to the high number of 5.
That's correct.
And out of the 22, so that leaves 17 that we're covering through retirements, vacant positions, not filling some positions, and
Yes.
moving people around.
That's
to
correct.
be more efficient.
That's correct.
I support the 4.8. I was never a big fan of going over 5. So if that 5.19 was presented tonight, I would probably had a lot more questions. So I'm glad to see it, going down to that. So I mean, I would support the 4.8.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. Any further questions? Okay, we left the blank, when you go to the regular agenda, the blanks are left because we knew we were going to have this discussion and we wanted input. And Jennifer is going to, Jesse, when you read, later on, when you read the resolution, Jennifer is going to give you the numbers so you have it. You got to read the resolution and the amount of the budget and the tax levy increase. And I thank everybody for their attention. Thank you so much.
All right, moving on to the public forum. Residents, students, employees, and business representatives of the East Greenbush Central School District may address the board on matters concerning programs and/or operations of the district other than matters involving personnel. Members of the board do not directly respond to citizen concerns during the public forum. If a response is appropriate, either the president or superintendent will contact the individual in the near future. Those persons wishing to address the board will be recognized by the chair of the meeting and should state for the record their name and address or affiliation with the district or business. While the board does not wish to infringe upon free speech protections, it must be stressed that the visitors forum is not deemed to be an open forum. The board president will conduct the forum for the orderly and efficient operation of board business. In addition, any remarks which may be considered defamatory or stigmatizing are prohibited and will be declared out of order. All comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. Any comments?
Hello, my name's Kayla Smith. I'm sure you're all tired of hearing from me by now. I live at 6 Highland Drive, East Greenbush. I sent you guys an email today, but I have some more comments after everything today. I understand the need for cuts, and I don't like them any more than any of the rest of you. I have a lot of things that I am passionate about, and I have a 5th grader currently who's going to Goff, so I'm kind of going to bridge UPK elementary all the way to middle school at this point in time. And I'll be here for a long time. One of the first things I want to comment about, the school psychologist addition, I did not realize that there was going to be an additional cut today to that. And as you guys had commented, I could see the hesitation with making that cut. One of the concerns that I have with making an additional school psychologist cut is while the school social workers can assist with providing some of the mental health support, the school psychologists are the only ones that can provide the testing. And the testing is long and grueling and very, very time consuming. So as somebody who works kind of in this field, I'm not a school psychologist, but in this field in general, I do have concerns with the students' needs being able to be met with taking the psychologist to do more of that testing. One of my concerns would be that sometimes like they say, oh, we don't need to put formalized counseling on the students' 504, for example, because every student has access to social work. Well, if you're cutting all of that, you're not going to see those students in those numbers, if that makes sense. So if my kid needs some emotional support, she doesn't have it written on an IEP or a 504. She has it just as like an additional support. But those numbers aren't taken into account, in my opinion. So I have 2 children who both sometimes see the school psychologist or the social worker for various reasons. My 2nd grader tends to cry a lot, missing mom and needing some support, and I've reached out multiple times. I just have concerns that we're reducing that amount, and those are the kids that you're going to see that are kind of left to the wayside a little bit because they're not in the day-to-day computation of numbers that you're seeing. In addition, the UPK piece of it, I have a child that is going into the lottery for UPK on May 1st. And one of the things I love is the in-district positions. And I've brought this up numerous times before. When you look at the cost of BOCES versus the community-based programs, I'm a little concerned on the cost basis with BOCES being at $11,000 per pupil, whereas other programs like Holy Spirit do it for $5,400. And as Mr. Stiles just mentioned, there are programs that are willing to come in that potentially would be at that lower point. And I understand Mr. Stiles mentioned, or Mr. Simons mentioned at the last meeting that BOCES provides an administrator. And I can understand that with needing to oversee those UPK programs. However, is there a possibility that another program could do it at a cheaper cost? BOCES is almost double the cost of the other providers, and they're getting free space. They're getting district space for free, not having to pay for electricity and all of that sense, whereas these other programs are. So, and I guess my question would be, is the service really any different from Holy Spirit versus BOCES in the education that the children are provided. So those are just a few of my comments. So thank you.
Thank you. I just want to add, never too tired to hear from a parent. Any additional comments?
Elizabeth Putnam, 8 Bayberry Court, East Greenbush. I just wanted to say that I consider mental health services to be foundational, kind of in the way that school lunches and school meals are. I think that it's a foundational thing that my own daughter, I've seen kids have trouble learning when their mental health is not addressed and assisted. And it's a shame that this is falling on the schools. This, shouldn't necessarily be a school issue, but I think that it is, in that mental health services are not, being served in other ways. And so it's kind of on all of you and all of us to make sure that mental health services are available for the kids. So I did just want to say that as a community member speaking for 5, I am very concerned about any loss of psychological services at the school. I would much prefer to pay, again, speaking for one family, I would much prefer to pay additional to keep the psychologist positions. Thank you. And thank you all so much for what you're doing. I know this is a tough job and I truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Moving on to special grants for 2025-26.
I'm gonna let Mr. Stiles and Mr. Mahar just kind of give a general overview of this special grants, because Mr. Mahar and Mr. Stiles coordinate the committee.
Want to go, Marty? Sure.
All right, can we bring the document up? Okay, gotcha. Okay, so we met the committee together. We all of the proposals that were sent in were considered, and in the end, we stuck by the guidelines of those that submitted proposals last year that were approved weren't necessarily considered first. We considered other approvals, which we were able to do. So the last 3 at the end, if you could scroll down.
Scroll down.
There was only 3 proposals that we couldn't approve because of funds. And the first one on there was someone that had done the same exact conference the year prior. So we didn't approve that one. And second one down, that individual had also gone to a conference the year prior. And the last one, Mr. Stiles said he could fund that through his professional development budget with some other members that may also be going to that. The one on there with Renee, that will be considered as a preference for submitting next year.
Thank you, Mr. Mahar. So special grants is a provision within the teacher's contract that enables the district to send teachers to very high-quality conferences and professional development opportunities. There's certain money that's set aside, there's a budget for it, and there's a committee that meets to look at the requests. So it's really an effort to try to provide teachers with, high-level professional development, but to distribute the money that's available equitably.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is I feel as though the committee did a really great job of making sure that, all of the conferences and PD opportunities that are being funded through special grants will be supporting, just our district vision and mission as a whole.
Did you say you rotate through the staff members or you rotate through the conferences? I just want to, a couple of them we went last year, so we didn't do it again. Did you say a couple people got them last year and we didn't do them again this year? Or
Feel free to jump into. So, the committee as a whole really looks at the conference, kind of all the conference and the individual.
Okay.
With a limited number of funds, we
Yeah.
wouldn't want to see the same individual,
Get
getting
awarded
a
every year and-
$5,000
yep.
conference every year and not giving other opportunities.
Got it. Thank you.
I think it would be helpful moving forward if this was like a couple year look back, if you could include what folks went to last year. I think that would be helpful in understanding how you came to the decisions. I also, as a rule of thumb, and perhaps I have my state hat on, you have some that have one person and some that have two. You give considerations on two people going versus one. So if two people are going, would the cost be cut in half with one? I'm assuming these are conference fees and travel fees, correct?
It's the whole. So when you see multiple people, that's the submission that came in. It came in with multiple people.
Yeah, but like, what's the return on invest? Like, I don't know about these three on the bottom. I'm not part of this committee, but I personally feel that you have two people going to the same conference, then is the justification on, is there separate tracks? What are they taking back that you need two people, right? Instead of the one person, right? So I understand it's like a package deal if they're submitting that, but we wouldn't allow conference and travel if it's not justified as why you have two people going. If one person can go and bring back this information, right? So perhaps that could be a consideration in the future if you have to end up denying people, these valuable things. I also, when I look at them, I'm not on the committee, but the conference program doesn't really give me project atmosphere. I have absolutely no idea what that means. So I think it would be helpful to have like a bullet to say like what this is. Because it's hard for me to say, yeah, this looks great, because I don't really know what some of these are,
Mm-hmm.
So this was a discussion item. We would ask you to approve it at the next meeting.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to capital project planning.
Just briefly, we're having a groundbreaking ceremony on Friday associated with the start of Phase 1A of the capital project, which is the tennis courts and the basketball courts and the roof at Columbia. All are invited. It will be a brief ceremony just to kind of kick off the positive impact that the project is starting to have on the facilities and grounds. I can't remember the time of that, Jennifer.
1
1
p.m.
1 p.m. Anybody who can come is welcome to come. Also want to just add, not associated with this capital project, but the board approved an emergency project for Donald P. Sutherland Elementary School to replace a failing water heating system. And that was installed this week. And according to our representative from Turner Construction, it is working properly. And according to our principal, the work looks great. Thank you for approving that.
Moving on to approval of programs for resident children with disabilities. Is there any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve? Ms. Van Orton, a second. Ms. O'Brien, all in favor? Everyone's in favor, motion passes. Moving on to revised notice of the public hearing. Any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Buno, is there a second? Ms. Turner, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes. Moving on to adoption of the budget. Proposition number 1, for the amounts of money which will be required for the school year 2025-26 for school purposes. Resolved that the Board of Education of the East Greenbush Central School District be authorized to expend the sum of $115,153,000 as a general fund appropriation for the 2025-26 school year and the the two levy, I'm just reading through the circles.
Sorry.
No, I appreciate them. To the levy that necessary tax. Adoption of this budget requires a tax levy increase of 4.8%, which exceeds the statutory tax levy limit increase of 3.19% for this school fiscal year, and therefore exceeds the state tax cap and must be approved by 60% of the qualified voters present and voting. Is there any questions or comments on this resolution? Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Buno, is there a second? Ms. Steinbach, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes.
I want to thank the board for their work on this and their support despite some of their reservations. Thank you so much.
Moving on to the 2025-26 property tax report card. Any questions or comments? No questions or comments. A motion to approve. Ms. Gomersky, a second. Ms. Turner, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes. Next is the adoption of the Questar 3 Administrative Tentative Budget for 2025-26. Is there any questions or comments? A motion to approve. Mr. Mann, a second. Ms. Van Orton, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes. Next is election of members of the Rensselaer-Columbia Greene County's Board of Cooperative Education Services, the BOCES. Is there any questions or comments on this number?
Jesse, so there are currently 4 members up on the Questar board. And there are 4 candidates that are currently on the board that are seeking re-election. So I believe our district gets 1 vote for these, so I mostly cast that 1 ballot for the entire slate of the 4 running for the Questar budget.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Mann. And we already have representation on that BOCES board. These members are all from different districts, keeping their representation live on the BOCES. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Mann, is there a second? Mr. Buno, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes. This is a resolution to approve the EGTA MOA, Memo of Agreement, is that? Yes, Memo of Agreement with the EGT acronyms sometimes. Is there a motion to approve this? Ms. Van Orton, a second. Mr. Mann, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes. And moving on to committee reports, Mr. Marty Mahar.
Tonight.
Not tonight, no, okay. That the agenda threw me off, all right. Ms. Mulligan.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Temple. This afternoon, we had a Health Insurance Review Committee meeting. We had 3 very important agenda items. We had a Highmark representation there. We also had CDPHP attend our meeting, as well as all of our bargaining units and some members of that were also part of the CDPHP plan. So the main topics of discussion is a new opportunity through Highmark for our prescription drugs called Copay Armor, which is basically a coupon program that reduces members' copays. For example, certain specialty drugs may have a $30 copay for that, and it could be reduced down to anywhere from $0 to $10 by them voluntarily participating in that copay program. As a result, the district also receives coupon savings. The implementation of this could save the district based on our current utilization with these specialty drugs at about $150,000 a year. So we're having some discussions on that with the bargaining units. So more to come on that. There is a 90-day implementation if we do get agreement on that. So the earliest we would be able to implement that would be August 1st or September 1st if we're able to move forward. The second item we discussed was on the CDPHP plan. Currently, it's an HMO plan, Health Managed Organization plan. And we're looking to possibly shift that over to an EPO plan, which is an exclusive provider network. The plans are identical in terms of benefits offered, co-pays offered, and it also expands to a national network of providers, and all the current providers would be maintained. Doing that can save total premium of about $550,000, $100,000 on the cost share for employees, and about $450,000 on the district side. So these are some things that we're discussing to maintain our benefit level and actually enhancing it a little bit, whereby we can save funds for the district and for employees. So these are preliminary discussions. We did push hard forward to see if there's an opportunity for a decision before May 1st, because that's the only way that we could make an implementation on the CDPHP EPO plan for a July 1st plan change. That's very aggressive. We had our meeting today. We've pushed out a lot of information, so we'll see what comes of that. And then we also discussed open enrollment and our renewal rates based on our existing plan structures.
So when are we up to do an RFP for our health and try to look for other providers? It's always important to do that to make sure we're staying competitive.
I'd have to talk with the Akashic Consortium to see
Okay.
when,
If
I'm
we
not
could do
familiar
that.
with their timelines on that.
I'm sure they're on top of that as well. But
Yes, I
it
know,
obviously
usually-
allows you to get the most competitive prices
Mhm.
when you're going out for an RFP. So it should be done every 3 or 4 years regularly.
Thanks, Jen, for the information. It sounds like there's some savings potentially being achieved or looked at. You know, this is a health insurance committee. So this is a huge concern of the board, obviously, given the cost drivers. We're on every committee, and this is a contractual committee, I assume, that's bargaining unit members across the district administration. I'm not looking to get into anything that's contractual but it just seems to me that health insurance in general for school districts, the Akashic, this district, other districts are facing huge issues. But where's the board's voice? There is none, except for here. So my question is this something the board needs to look at on an ad hoc basis? Because I think, like your comment is very good. Who's representing the districts besides the superintendent, the business officials, in front of these people to say, hey, what have you been doing? What's happening here? And it's not your issue. It's really the voice of the board and the community saying, hey, we want to provide great benefits for our people, but come on, let's look at some efficiencies here, because I think sometimes, like you said, we go along, everything happens, and all of a sudden, oh gosh, we have a crisis.
Right.
And then now we're stuck. So, and we're backpedaling and trying to figure things out. So again, not trying to look at committee creation, but is there a place where we can get this information and give a board perspective on these kinds of issues?
There's no reason that I can recall in the way that we brought this committee into the district that
Okay.
prohibits a board member from participating in those meetings.
Gotcha.
So this was a labor relations
Sure. And then
idea that I had from my prior
Mhm.
district that I brought that really increased the knowledge of the employees regarding the impact of health insurance. And so we negotiated it in, but there are no restrictions on a board member serving as a liaison to that committee. That might be a great idea.
Liaison, Emily.
That is a great idea.
And
No,
Emily has a
you
little
always
health
wanna circle
insurance.
back to those, no.
Yeah.
But I just trying to emphasize the point that, we're involved in a lot of things, the district, and rightfully so. Is there a way to have some kind of involvement in this?
And when I started here, I know Jeff and we talked about that, especially,
Yeah,
given
right,
my background, but it really wasn't that costly at that point. There was no need. But now this is surpassing the increases that we're seeing in every other line. So I do think some more oversight should be considered at least, and some different ideas and different approaches. I do think we need to push back on the organization, the consortium, and say, no, you guys need to do a better job for us too. And that may be looking somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note, right, like when you read the minutes, there are conversations around the GLP-1s, and we all know what's going on there, but there are other ways that folks are dealing with it. There's a program you have to be in. There's certain things you have to do. There's like cost sharing involved there, and we really need to do our due diligence here because it's this is not going to get any better, right? And we're already seeing that our fund is very low, and we don't have we don't have any of those reserves. So we need to think outside the box here. We need to understand what other people are doing, what other districts, what other companies are to control these costs and to push back until, this collectively we're all at a better place with insurance and drug costs. But
And I'm sure
this is the cost containment factor that we need to be a part of and we need to take up because there's no other way. We're going to be 2 years from now, the list of things we're going to have to cut so we can afford, certain medications is the pay. I'm not ready, as much as I appreciate these drugs, right? I personally know people on them. I'm not ready to sacrifice, right, the level of education and what we offer for certain things like that. And so I think we need a real discussion about that. And, we really need, I do agree with Mike that we need a voice there and we need a hand at the table because ultimately we are stuck with making these bad decision A, bad decision B.
And there are other techniques, like there's rebates and those.
So yes, and our RX
programs,
program receives, manufacturer rebates. So between free market health that we recently implemented for July 1, this opportunity with copay armor and the CDPHP EPO plan, we're talking close to $750,000 in savings and maintaining our current plan structures. So, so could be some easy lifts if we're able to get the buy-in.
To be honest, I would guess if we have to open up a contract in any way, shape, or form, this is an area we're going to have to talk about because it's the highest cost in any contract that we have besides salaries itself.
Yeah.
And it's
When you
going
say
to
a
just be high.
contract, what type of
I'm
contract?
just saying a union contract, if we, ever
Yeah,
have
they
to.
have to agree to open it up.
Yeah, if they, right, this is it. This is, and, nobody wants people cut because of costs.
You can't sacrifice your quality and your staff. At what cost are you going to do that? And right now our costs of sacrificing are these prescription medications.
Do we need to do anything formal tonight in order to memorialize a board member joining this committee or?
I think I'd like to see Mr. Simons and Jen kind of put their heads together, just talk about how could we support some positions and then get back to us at some point.
We will definitely follow up
Okay.
at the next meeting.
Or something. Liaison assignments.
Okay, moving on to, if that's all said, I don't mean no problem.
Yeah. Health insurance is a big hot topic.
All right, nothing. All right, thank you. Just trying to keep us on schedule here. We had 8:10.
On schedule, we're in 2 hours.
Exactly.
We're going to make a recommendation, we not have the executive session. It's not time sensitive. Is that okay?
I don't care.
Okay. It's okay. Yeah, it's not time sensitive.
All right. So no table motions, no old business. Consent agenda, anybody have any questions or comments, concerns with the consent agenda? Mr. Mann?
Yeah, so I do see one thing on there. Roy leaving us. Just want to thank you for everything you've done for the district. Last 3 years you've been here. Wish you the best of luck in your new endeavors. And, wish you well.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for your
Thank
service.
Thank you.
I also just want to say that it's exciting to see the club, the drone club. We've come a long way with that. We're just setting it up and now going away on it. It's a real success story.
And Ashley, as our SRO, does a great job engaging with the kids. And this is something that he brought an interest of his own to the kids. It's a small group of kids, but they're going to participate in a national competition.
That's great.
It's terrific.
That's great.
So, yeah.
Thank you for all the time. And they're going to Texas. It's nice and cool there. And the May.
I definitely want to echo the comments. I do appreciate your service, Roy, and I wish you the best in your endeavors. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? Ms. Komersky, a second. Ms. O'Brien, all in favor? Everyone in favor, motion passes. No addendum, any new business, anyone? Our last public forum, anyone? Got quite the crowd out there. Our last board forum, start on my left, Ms. Van Orton.
I'm all set.
All right, Mr. Komersky.
All set.
Mr. Buno.
Yeah, just thank you for the discussion. Microphone. We're on the budget. I think, people understand that the board responsibility is challenging, and we're trying to do what's best for the entire community. And I think we've come to a place where we're making some good strides. There's still be a lot of work ahead, and I think that, the next couple of years are going to be just as interesting. So, and dealing with some of the challenges. So appreciate everyone's support and making sure that we, voices are heard and everyone gets a chance to express their opinions and we come to some conclusions. So I appreciate everyone coming together and looking at that, and supporting the administration's proposals. So that's it. And congratulations to anyone who's retiring.
Thank you, Mr. Buno. Mr. Mann?
I'm all set,
All
thank you.
set. I do want to thank the administration. I know sometimes my conversation can be coarse in my delivery. Sometimes when you're always looking forward, sometimes you don't always step back and really appreciate the work that our admin team takes in. I was thankful to hear about your work with the Health Insurance Consortium. I am very thankful and understand the dynamics that the administration have with balancing various dynamics in the budget. And for myself, a lot of the times I'm just coming from a value, perspective and trying to find reason to get over just things that are stops for me, and trying to reconcile it. But I do appreciate the work. I'm glad to converse about it. And I'm sure we'll have many more conversations, but I do want to thank our admin team and congratulate the district for having a budget approved. Ms. Turner.
I'm good.
Ms. O'Brien. Ms. Phillips. Ms. Steinbach.
Yeah, I have a few things. Again, I already said it, but thank you to Jeff and Jen on your efforts. I always drive by and Jen is the last car to leave every single day. And this time of year, it doesn't go unnoticed, Jenna, and I appreciate all that hard work. It's not easy to please, one person. It's not easy to please 9 or 10 people, then the public too. So appreciate all of your efforts there. Hopefully you can get some rest soon. Hopefully the state folks can get some rest soon. But also want to thank Roy as well for all you've done for the district, and really excited to watch you in the future as well. And one last thing I just want to reiterate, Jesse mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, I don't know if the web stream was working then, but we have worked this board tirelessly to select the next superintendent. The contract negotiation has concluded and we have selected the next superintendent of the district. And we will be having a special board meeting on Thursday night, same time, same location, where we will be, and the new superintendent will be present, and folks in the community will be able to meet. So staff, everyone can meet the new superintendent, and there'll be an announcement before that as well. So, hopefully folks can stay tuned, and anyone who's interested can come on Thursday to golf at 7:00 and meet our new superintendent. On that note, I also just want to say a huge thank you I'm sure I'm speaking for myself, but from the board to Mike. Mike was really critical in, taking the lead for the search and picking up a lot of the coordination and outreach communication. And Mike, we appreciate that. That did not go unnoticed, and appreciate, your leadership with that search. So thank you. I'm all set now.
Absolutely. Thank you, Emily. I wanted to clap there. I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna give a round of applause to Mike for our work. No, but seriously, it's definitely appreciated. So now we need let's see here. So we're all set for that. We need a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion? Mr. Mann, a second? Ms. Turner? Everyone in favor? Motion passes. Executive session is canceled.
We're going to postpone it to the next time when we don't have as many presentations. So we'll do it at the next meeting.